Hello, this is Jimac 10. You know, it's funny how time smooths out the edges of memory. Most of my time at that old insurance firm in the mid-90s is a blur of beige cubicle walls, the hum of dot matrix printers, and the smell of stale coffee. But there's one memory that's carved in crystal clear detail. Her name was Anya. She wasn't just pretty. Pretty was the girl at the diner who brought you a slice of pie. Anya was something else. She had this presence, this quiet gravity that just warped the space around her. She started in accounting, I think, on the second floor. I was in claims, first floor, but her path to the break room or the main printer took her right past my desk. The first time I saw her, I genuinely forgot how to swallow. I had a mouthful of lukewarm coffee and I just stopped. She had this long, dark hair that fell like a curtain of silk, and she always wore these simple, elegant clothes, a black turtleneck sweater, a gray pencil skirt. Nothing flashy, but on her it looked like $1,000,000. She moved differently, too. Not a shuffle or a hurried office walk, but a kind of graceful, unhurried glide. And man, I was not alone in noticing. It was the weirdest office phenomenon I've ever been a part of. You could actually track her movement through the building without seeing her. It was like a wave of silence and paralysis. I'd be talking to Dave from underwriting about last night's Seinfeld, and mid-sentence he'd just freeze. His eyes would lock onto something over my shoulder, his jaw would go slightly slack, and the punchline would die on his lips. I wouldn't even have to turn around. I knew Anya was walking by. You'd hear the frantic clacking on a keyboard suddenly stop. The photocopier would finish its cycle, and no one would be there to collect the copies. Guys would stand at the water cooler, not talking, just staring into the middle distance with a dumbstruck look on their faces. It wasn't leering or creepy, not really. It was more like awe. Like a beautiful, unexplainable meteor had just chosen to orbit our drab little office. We had this one guy, Bob, a veteran salesman in his 50s, gruff, seen it all. One afternoon, Anya needed a form from his desk. She leaned over slightly to point to something on the paper he was holding, and a strand of her hair brushed his wrist. I swear the man turned the shade of a ripe tomato. He stammered, fumbled the paper, and nearly knocked his world's best dad mug off the desk. He was useless for the rest of the day. The funniest part was the collective unspoken rule we all had. Thou shalt not acknowledge the freeze. We never talked about it. We'd just snap back to reality, cough, adjust our ties, and pretend we were intensely fascinated by the text on our monitor or the structural integrity of a paperclip. I spoke to her exactly once. I was sent to the accounting department to deliver a file. Her desk was in the corner, surrounded by what felt like a force field of male anxiety. I approached, my heart doing a ridiculous drum solo against my ribs. "Anya," I said, my voice cracking like I was 13. She looked up from her ledger, and her eyes were this incredible shade of hazel, green, and gold. She smiled, a small, polite thing. "Yes? From claims, this is for you." I thrust the file toward her like it was a radioactive isotope. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft. She took it and her fingers brushed mine. A completely accidental, meaningless contact. But I felt it like a static shock. I muttered something like, "No problem," and practically power walked back to the elevator, my face burning. She only worked there for about a year before she moved on to some other, probably far more glamorous company. But for that 1 year, our grungy, paperwork-choked world of the 1990s office, with its dial-up internet, its fax machine noises, and its bad ties, had a secret heartbeat. It was the silent, shared, and utterly ridiculous spectacle of a dozen grown men forgetting how to be functional human beings whenever a beautiful woman walked by. It was the strangest thing. And honestly, I kinda miss the 90s. For more stories like this, visit the JIMAC 10 websites.